Test, test, test. All right, looks like audio's working, video's working. Wait another minute or two and then we'll get started. In the meantime, I've resynced the Discord bot. I'm sorry, the Twitch bot. It is like a night standard Nightbot channel moderator. And there's some useful commands that you might be interested in trying out. You can type !commands to get the full list. But we have the typical ones like !schedule, Discord, things like that. If you want to get the links. And yeah, so starting to piece it together piece by piece and starting to look a little bit more professional. I also just slight adjustment made the notepad bigger. That way it can fit a little bit more notes on the screen and made the chart a little bit bigger too. Changed a little bit of the framing too. Hey, Schmidtcoin, happy you're doing streams again. Used to watch you a few years ago. Oh, nice. Back in the day. Yeah, so this week marks the completion of my first week of regular streaming. So I started doing regular streams last week. We hit Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I'm a streamer again, guys. We did it. We made it. But yeah, so while we're waiting for everyone else to get here, go ahead and type the Discord command to the chat if you want to get a link to the stream Discord. From there, I've been posting all the videos, all the clips, and the stream notes. So, for example, last week we had a big list of notes with notes on Bollinger Bands, what we were looking for, targets, and stuff like that. And yeah, so the Discord's just a nice place to get notifications, get get all the content that I'm creating all in one place. And it's also forwarding my tweets, so it's like a one-stop shop for all my content. Anyway, enough about that. Let's go ahead and get into the charts. So as always, I'll start with Dixie, the dollar index. And friendly reminder, we're always looking for dollar down for Bitcoin up, or if you're a bear, you want dollar up for Bitcoin down is the general heuristic I like to teach here. So right now we're looking at the monthly chart. It closes in 11 days. Nothing terribly insightful here. It is testing this macro support. Hasn't done anything noteworthy thus far. If it does close like this, i.e. not a bearish engulfing candle, something that closes down here, that will be, unless it closes a bearish engulfing candle, this will be an acceptance of the support, and that will actually be a bullish mark for the dollar. So we'll have to keep an eye out to see if this closes an inside candle or an engulfing candle. Because if it closes the engulfing candle, well then dollar down, Bitcoin up, yay. If it closes an inside candle, that at minimum says that dollar's at support, and it might have more room for upside. And if we look at the weekly, like it's supported by that, right? It's kind of waffling back and forth on this 50 EMA, but the EMAs are stacked here, which is indicating a weekly uptrend at minimum. And when we look at things like the cloud, it does have the potential to break through this cloud. So this week is going to be a really, really important week to watch. As you'll see once we get into the actual Bitcoin content. If this dollar index closes a break through the cloud, that most likely means that it's new bearish trend on the weekly, which would be supported of course, on the daily and things like that. However, a bounce here on Dixie, we'd be targeting this like C-clamp thing. So if you're unfamiliar with cloud trend metrics, all you need to know for this setup, we've got the basic edge to edge, which again, we'll go into detail with Bitcoin, but there are some reversal patterns where the slow moving average and the fast moving average make the C type deal, and it tends to mean revert to the C clamp, which is this guy here. So if we get a bounce and it doesn't break the cloud, we'd be targeting a bounce here, which of course would take down crypto. So we'll have to watch this weekly close on the dollar, and yeah. So we'll take it week by week, and I'll keep you guys updated throughout the week here. So question here, do you still have email you for more access to Discord? Well, I'm not sure what you mean by that. The stream Discord is public to everyone. So if you want to join now, you can just go ahead and join. Now that doesn't include my trading group. That's a different thing. It's just a subsection of this is like a subsection of my larger Discord. But the Discord link that you have there, that's like for all my content, all my notes, all my tweets, videos, stuff like that. Okay. Any questions about Dixie before we move on to Bitcoin? Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to the stuff everyone actually gives a shit about. Okay. So to couple the Dixie chart where it looks like the weekly is most likely going to break down through this cloud, which would mean dollar down, Bitcoin up. We have this weekly setup on the cloud, and this setup is called an edge to edge. So I'll go ahead and start the notes here. So market discussion, we'll say Dixie weekly bearish breakthrough, we'll say, on the horizon. Watch for weekly close through the bottom of the cloud. All right, so to couple this, on Bitcoin we have the counterpart to that, which is a weekly edge to edge on the cloud. And what that essentially means, long story short, without having to get into terrible detail, every time we close, we're in a trending market, up or down. If it closes inside the cloud and there's a flat Kumo is just a fancy word for the cloud, that typically means that it acts like a magnet. So where's my little magnet icon? I had it. Where is it? Icons. Where's my magnet? Come on, we'll slap it on there and we'll be official. Where's the magnet? Where is it? Here we go. Magnet. Boom. And here's the little rays of the magnet, as magnets do, right? So this upper flat Kumo acts like a gravitational pull for the market. And we just closed last week inside the cloud, which means that this setup is now valid. And we should be targeting a ride to the upper boundary of the cloud, which in our case is 43, we'll say 43.4. Weekly edge to edge cloud on the cloud targets, what did I say, 43,400. Here, we'll make it a new separate line. I like to make my notes nice and clean. Target equals 43,400. Okay. Now, you might be asking, well, how do we know if this thing's invalidated? Well, if we close the weekly back outside the cloud, forget this. That's off the table. If we close the weekly like somewhere down here, anywhere outside the lower boundary of this cloud here, forget this. It's off the table, and we would consider the setup invalidated. So we'll say A, watch for the weekly close. Close outside the cloud equals invalidation, and we move on to the next setup. Okay. If it closes inside, well, then of course, nice, still targeting the other side of the cloud, right? The other point I want to note is clouds in general, they are considered dynamic support and resistance, which means that you can see that this thing's like a giant amorphous blob. It's like has this upper boundary here, lower boundary here. And we should think of this as like this, right? So the thicker the cloud, the stronger the resistance, and it's not considered broken through resistance until it's gotten to the other side of the cloud and closed somewhere out here. So if we see a test here that gets a rejection and closes outside the cloud, that would mean that this is considered strong support, and we would be most likely tracking along the bottom edge of that. And we'll go ahead and show some examples here of when that has happened in the past. So here's an example in the past. We'll go a little further back, actually. Hello? Where'd it go? So we'll step through this as if we were trading this in real time, right? So if you were watching this back in 2019, there was this potential setup here, and then it failed to close inside the cloud. And we can see what happened next. It traced the bottom perimeter of the cloud. Basically, like it's a more dynamic way of looking at horizontal support and resistance, where something will come here and test it like this, and it'll be support. And the more it tests the support, the weaker the support gets, and vice versa. If something comes from the underside and it goes like this, every time it hits the resistance, it gets weaker and weaker. And then you can see ultimately it manages to break through, right? So when we're looking at the cloud, that's how we should think about this, is like like this blob of support and resistance. And we can see here all these failures to break through the cloud here. Now the analog in today's charts would be the weekly chart, which is here. And we can see we got our close inside. Now we just want to see the next one not fail to close inside the cloud and come down here. So we want to see acceptance of this test, and we would see the other side of the cloud there. All right, so questions. Am I able to play these videos back after you get them, after you get off live? Yeah, so they're recorded with Twitch VODs. You know, those are always saved, but I also put them up on YouTube and I post them on my Discord. So you get multiple ways to watch it again. Are these doubled settings? No, these are not double settings. I know a lot of people like to use doubled settings, you know, the quote unquote crypto settings, but I use just normal settings and they work fine for me. The only difference is that, like, when you have doubled settings, they're less sensitive. And when you have the standard settings, the default settings, they're just a little bit more sensitive. Oh, we got a Twitch Prime. Thanks, Lemontide. Should we be able to watch this? Okay, you already answered this. Yeah, cool. All right. Any questions about the cloud? Cloud looks really intimidating, but it's actually really simple. As long as you just don't try to use the cloud when it's doing consolidation like this, where it just looks like, you know, this nonsense. As long as you avoid this and you stick to trend, cloud is really simple. When it's in here, this is basically just nonsense. Just ignore it. What's the down target if it closes? If the close is outside the cloud? So that's not how it works. Like, so you should think of the cloud as like dynamic support and resistance. So when you break you know, a horizontal, for example, you don't look at this and be like, oh, this is a setup to go to the next thing. You just look at this as being like, okay, this is support. I'm going to target the next area. With the cloud, it's a little bit different. So if it closes here and it rejects it, I mean, like, you could argue it would mean revert to the Kijun, which is this red squiggle, this fellow here. And you could place an argument for it to retrace to 22,000. I don't like using the cloud in that way. I just look at it like support and resistance, and then I look at lower time frames for other targets. Or I use a totally different system altogether, like Bollinger Bands, for example. In my opinion, the target would be this midline, or, you know, the daily midline would probably be a good target. And as you'll see here in a minute, that's supported by this structure we're about to go into. So what else can we say here? Watch for the weekly close. Close outside the cloud is invalidated if we move on. I can word this better. Watch for the weekly close. If we close outside the cloud, Consider the edge to edge invalidated. Also, well, I'll leave it there for right now. Okay. Any other questions? Because I'm going to drill a little deeper into the charts. So some other things that we need to look at. I'm a big fan of looking at the CME futures chart. And the reason why is I look at the CME futures chart like a filter. It filters out a lot of the weekend volatility, and it kind of cleans things up. So a lot of times, not always, but most times when we look at the weekend volatility, the volume is considerably lower. And that's because large hands just kind of sit it out, like the investment banks and hedge funds and stuff like that. They tend to take the weekend off, like maybe they'll trade a little bit. But for the most part, when we look at weekends, the volume is fairly low. And you can see even on the weekend that we broke north back on the 13th of March, it didn't even start really moving until CME futures opened. So in general, CME futures acts like a filter, and I think that's a really great way to view the market from a macro perspective. So with that lens in mind, got another tier 1 sub. Thanks, Pixar. Yeah, you guys are pretty consistent with these. Okay, so what was I saying? So with the CME futures, we need to look at this like a filter, and we can see there was a couple of notable things that happened with CME futures. A lot of people, for whatever reason, say that gap fills on CME futures are bullshit. They're absolutely not bullshit. You can see here the market immediately gravitated toward this and rallied. And look where it rallied to. It rallied to this massive gap here, filled it, and now it's kind of like this little hanging Chad bro here, where it's not only is it filling the gap here, but it's also retesting the macro trading range. This was the macro trading range that bled into our bear market. And we can see here we're testing the lower boundary here, which is expected to bring sellers, right? Macro level equals sellers. People take profit. People speculate short. And then, of course, it gravitated toward this gap fill, which it 100% filled, right? I've heard, a question or message from Twitch. I've heard about volume washing, and I've even read an academic paper studying it. Do you have confidence in the reported volume that we see? So I have a lot more confidence in the CME futures, of course, because it's heavily regulated. The idea of wash trading is exactly why I don't look at Binance for volume, because Binance has 0 to low fees with their trading, which just incentivizes wash trading. And I specifically look at Coinbase for my macro charts because there's no leverage and there's no 0 fees, so there's no incentive to wash trade. Also, more scrutinized because it's a U.S. exchange. Cool. So let's go back to the CME futures chart. So not only is this thing running into resistance, it also finally mean reverted to the 600 EMA, right? Now, this just because it's running into resistance, and I think short term we're due for a little bit of a pullback, which I'll go into detail about. That doesn't mean to me that like, oh, we're resuming bear market. That's not what that means to me. What that means to me is that we rallied bottom to top. Like, how far is this? 48% in like a week. Like, take it easy. Like, a little bit of pullback is totally fine. In fact, it's probably better in the long run because the faster we grow, the faster we explode upward, the quicker it comes crashing down. And so anything that's like a slow burn like this, that's how you get long-term bull markets like this. Like this whole thing was a slow burn, and we get these massive markups. And if you're familiar with the way that Bitcoin started back in 2017, same thing here. Like this was a multi-year bull market for Bitcoin, concluding in 2018. And if you want a multi-year bull market, you want a slow burn, not an instant blowing your wad on the first date kind of thing. All right, so question here. Hey, bro, thanks for your stream. You're welcome. Question. What do you think all this levels correlated with the S&P at the moment? Can you rephrase that? I'm not sure what you're asking. While you're rephrasing that, I think this is a good time to show my community's Discord. It's a free Discord where I'm posting all my content. My tweets get routed there, my videos, and my stream notes, which I actually need to update. Make a note there. Yeah, so if you're interested in joining it, go type !Discord into the chat, and you'll get a link to the Discord there, where you can hang out, talk about like-minded stuff. You can talk about overthrowing the government. No, I'm just kidding. Do not talk about overthrowing the government. I don't want to be put on a list. That was a bad joke. I was joking, Twitch. Don't talk about that. Not a good idea. But you can talk about other things, like Escape from Tarkov and how many hackers there are. What else can we say? Okay, so let's make our notes about CME futures. CME futures. This will be a running list. Wait, this should be a 2. 2, CME futures. We'll tab you in. CME futures. What did we say? So CME futures. Hit mean reversion target of the daily 600 EMA. B, build the gap from June of 2022. And that's in reference to this guy here. Is that June? Yeah, June. We'll be more specific. June 13th. June 13, 2022. Boom. Boom. Yeah, we'll do that. What else? Let's go ahead and look at the cloud here. So daily cloud is bullish. So no threat of this being like, bang reverse. This looks bullish. Just a little overbought at the moment. And if we look at the weekly cloud tells a different story for CME futures, right? If you're familiar with chart patterns, like candlestick patterns, this would be known as an abandoned baby if this closes a doji, right? And that is a sign of a reversal. And an abandoned baby takes the form of this. So if you have a candle like this, right, it closes, it gaps up into this doji, and it gaps back down. This is considered an abandoned baby, and it's a reversal pattern, kind of like a hammer, or a shooting star, or whatever you want to call it, right? Very similar to that, but this is just a gapped version of that. And the fact that it's gapping into resistance kind of makes me think we're going to get rejected, honestly. I would feel much more confident about the spot edge-to-edge play if CME futures was also doing it, but it's not. So let's add this. What do we want to say? Potential abandoned baby gapped up into weekly cloud. We need to watch the weekly close. Okay, what else? All right, so question from chat. Thanks for the stream. How do you explain this pump to banking problems? So here's my general rule of thumb. Okay, anytime we rally on news, I'm always super skeptical. What I'd like to see is technicals that support a rally on news. I don't want the market to purely rally on news because that's usually a liquidity event where large players will do something like this and trap people in reverse. I'm not saying that's absolutely what's going to happen, but it does have me on edge and more skeptical about what's happening. But it's no doubt about it. I mean, this is rallying because people are speculating about the bank stuff or, whatever. Is there signs that increase the likelihood of an edge to edge, like more closes inside the cloud, the better? Or is this just one close in and you have a chance of an edge to edge? Yeah, so it's typically you just look for one close in. So I'll go back and I'll show you some edge to edge examples. Because it is literally that simple of like, you just look for the close inside and then it has a really high likelihood of running to the other side. So, here's an edge to edge setup, edge to edge setup, closed inside the cloud, and then it ran to the other side, right? And then it eventually inked through this like thin resistance or slash support and went through edge to edge here, boom. Where else? You saw a couple of tests of the edge to edge, didn't quite get there, finally closed, ran to the other side, tried to break out, got another edge to edge, and it broke through. Right? Like we see this over and over and over. And if we look at the daily, it's a little bit more common. So here's quite a few that have happened. Let me clean up this chart so we can see it better. So let's get rid of the EMAs. Let's get rid of the lagging span. We'll look at just, let's go ahead and get rid of all this. So look at just the cloud. All right, so edge to edge gets rejected. So we go, okay, I'm going to wait to see what happens. It closes back inside, and it immediately, waffles around, but immediately it targets the other side. Target hit, bang. Same thing here. Same thing, little micro version here. And then here's another one. So this is just a really common thing that happens. What we don't want is we don't want it to do something like this. Like this is sketchy. When it closes inside, you go, okay, cool. Looks good. It closes back outside, bang. And, But you should think about it like support and resistance, right? The more tests something has, the weaker that level becomes. Let's see if I can find a few more examples. Here's another one. Bang. Bang. So, yeah, all over the place here. Another one here. Here's a failure. This is the one I was talking about earlier. So we always want to be watching for the close back outside the cloud because that's usually a sign of confirmed resistance. But yeah, it's really that simple. You just look for the close inside the cloud and you target the other side and watch for the close back outside the cloud. The end. All right, so with so many setups looking ripe for more up, the megaphone breaking up, close inside the cloud, inverse head and shoulders, it feels like this doesn't have legs. Feels like a trap. This week will give us more important info. Absolutely. We want to watch for how the weekly handles these setups. It's like a question and answer. It's like, all right, we're here. Are we doing this? And if people are gun shy, it's just going to reverse, right? And unfortunately, because we went up so hard, we're most likely going to have a hard down if we see that. Now, you did mention the rising wedge. Where's my chart? Boom, boom, boom. Look at this on the hourly. You did mention the rising wedge, which definitely need to keep an eye on. Let's clean this chart up a little bit. Get rid of you. Get rid of you. We'll just look at this. So yeah, there is this rising wedge we need to keep an eye on, and it's textbook, right? Like it has descending volume. It has 3 consecutive highs. You have our breakout. We had a failed breakout before the market opened, but we want to watch to see how the market handles this fella because we're on shaky ground here. And as you know from my 15-minute strategy, we would look to target the 600 EMA at minimum, and there's a ton of stops to hit. So I would be watching for an entrance at 26.3 ish, something like that. Yeah. All right. Any other questions about the the Bitcoin stuff. Oh, I'll also add this to the notes. We'll say the lower TF rising wedge on the table. Mean reversion target of 15-minute 600 EMA. Which at the moment, this is obviously going to change, but at the moment it's like 20,300. We'll say 20,400 to be 20,400. Currently 20,400. Do I publish my stream notes somewhere? Yeah, I publish it in my Discord. I publish it in my. I have a channel for it. It's specifically called Stream Notes if you're in the Discord. Okay. Any other questions here? Looks like we're getting a throwback to the breakout. So we'll have to watch this. It'll probably happen during the stream. We'll see what happens here. All right. Any other questions about Bitcoin, or can we move on to like Ether and all the other stuff people want to see? Is my notes for my paid users? No, it's not. It's in the free spot. It's under the stream community. Just click stream community, and then there's a bunch of different forums there, and one of them is stream notes. Yeah, in the forums. Yep. Yeah, and there's like a little discussion area and all kinds of fun stuff. That's where I'm also publishing the recording. So I'm putting my YouTube videos there. I'm putting the clips. Like I clipped my discussion of the Bollinger Bands last week because I kind of went in depth on how to use Bollinger Bands and how to read them. So yeah, I posted that whole clip there. Looks like we're getting like a little local breakout here. See if it closes. Okay, should we move on to Ether, or what do you guys? All right, let's do it. So let's go to Ether. So Ether, unlike Bitcoin, Ether has it has the same megaphone structure, but it's not. It didn't break out. So here's your megaphone deal, which everyone and their mom is watching this megaphone, right? Like everyone on Bitcoin, they're all like watching this thing and they're like, oh, it broke out, therefore blah, 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 right? Ether, which is king altcoin, did not break out, and it's not getting the same attention as Bitcoin, right? And when we look at things like RSI, for example, it's pretty overbought. And the same applies to Bitcoin here. We can see this RSI has bearish divergence here, and it's just, it's asking for a reversal. It's just begging for it. It even had a 4-hour Bollinger Bands M top here. Look at that, super clean. Yeah, and if we look at Bitcoin, I'll just to be consistent here. If we look at the 4-hour and we slap RSI on there, same deal, right? So we have higher highs and lower highs on the RSI. So it's present on both. Could morph into a diamond top pattern. I mean, yeah, I guess anything is possible. Like it could come down here, something like that, or whatever. But dude, diamond tops, I've found those to be so unreliable. There are a couple patterns in crypto that are very reliable and a couple that are very unreliable. Ones that are very reliable are head and shoulders tops. I'll make a separate notepad. Say reliable chart patterns in crypto. I'll just say Bitcoin specifically. One, head and shoulders tops. We'll say horizontal flags, i.e. trading ranges. I think head and shoulders bottoms are okay, but they fake out a lot. And we'll say unreliable. The list is way more. One is falling wedges. Those things never play out. Those things are such a meme. Falling wedges. I think rising wedges are, I wouldn't consider them unreliable, but they do fake out. So I'll put this in the reliable chart pattern. Like when I see a falling wedge, like I don't even think twice about it. But with rising wedges, I think there's probably more examples of them playing out than not, but they do kind of come across as like a meme sometimes. Rising wedges are also okay. Falling wedges, cool meme. What else? Diamond tops, I think those are pretty shit. Diamond tops / bottoms. Isn't the diamond top unbiased? Yeah, diamond top is, oh yeah, here's another one. So, symmetrical triangles. I'll just say triangles in general are really good. Where I will make the exception is over consolidated triangles. And what I mean by over consolidated triangles is like, imagine you have a symmetrical triangle like this. Typically, we want to see it break out like 2/3 along the way. So we want to see something like this, like that, where it breaks out here. But whenever we see something like this, where it goes up and it fills the whole thing, that almost always either does this or does this, where it button hooks. So I consider over consolidated triangles a different thing. Triangles that properly consolidate. Say that. Ascending triangles are pretty good and easy to manage risk around. Yeah, I totally agree. What else? Throw out a chart pattern at me, and I'll tell you what my opinion is, because I'm drawing a blank on any other ones. I don't really trade a whole lot of patterns. There's just a few that I do. But yeah. Breakout failure is also a good pattern. Yeah, I agree. A Davos box. I've never even heard of that. Megaphones also feel like a meme to me as well, because they just turn into other shit. Like I don't find them to be super reliable. Here's the thing: is anytime there's a humongous chart pattern that everyone sees, they almost always fail. Because it's just such a, if something just seems obvious, it's probably obvious for a reason. What else? Let's say SFPs are really good. But that's not really a pattern. Well, I guess the P is, right? Swing failure pattern. So SFPs. What else? Bull flags, bear flags. Oh yeah. So apparently I'm like proved myself wrong because I actually think some of these are pretty good. I say bear flags. I find that low time frame bear flags actually work better than higher. Yeah, bear flags. I don't know what your guys' experience is, but that's typically mine. I don't find that penance. I find so back in 2017, 2016, 2017, dude, pattern trading was really easy because pennants were just so reliable. But these days, bull/bear pennants have become unreliable over time. Compound fulcrums are really good. Yeah. And if you guys have any questions about what these are, like I can draw these out for you. See, we're on the same page. I find that triple tops and triple bottoms are pretty unreliable. Double tops are pretty reliable. Double tops are reliable, but watch for fakeouts. So BBW, BBM, yeah. Isn't a breakout failure and an SFP the same thing? Sort of. I would say a breakout failure can. It's kind of like squares and rectangles kind of thing. Like an SFP is a breakout failure, but not all breakout failures are SFPs. So, like for example, you could have this. This is a really common one that you should always watch for. If you have a head and shoulders top, for example, this is a really good one. So typically we have this clean neckline, right? If it ever fails to break out or it breaks out and comes back, this is a big oh shit moment. And especially if it comes back and finds support on the shoulder. This almost always runs to the head and or keeps going or reverses. And same thing when you have the directionally the wrong direction on the neckline. So when you have a head and shoulders top, in general, we want to have an ascending or horizontal neckline. The more descending the neckline is, like something like this, the more unreliable it is and the more likely it is to fake out. Same thing on head and shoulders bottoms, right? We want a descending or a horizontal neckline. And if you ever see a neckline like this, this is a setup in my Discord that we've coined the meme head and shoulders bottom or the meme head and shoulders top. Because what this is a trap. This is a bull trap and a bear trap. Because from a game theory perspective, what happens is it runs the liquidity of people that are shorting, traps people that are breaking out the level, and then immediately reverses on them. And it makes them double down on the shoulder, but then it just keeps going up. And same thing with the meme head and shoulders bottom, right? It fakes this little tiny shoulder and then it goes bam. And it's usually really aggressive. Like if it comes up like this, it's usually bang, something like that. And if you were just looking at this left part and you weren't aware of this setup, you'd get trapped all day on this. Love your voice, calming. Oh, thanks, man. Or woman, whatever you are. All right, question here. Another general topic. Do you have the feeling that after those fractional reserve exchanges went bankrupt, the manipulation in the market is less? They used to sell paper Bitcoin to crash. They used to sell paper Bitcoin I'm not sure what you mean. I'm not sure what you mean. Um, the meme The meme Head and Shoulders reminds me of a compound fulcrum if you draw it like that. So a compound fulcrum's a little different though, because the compound fulcrum arrives at the bottom of a trend, right? So if the trend's coming down, it goes like this, boom, and usually it doesn't break the neckline here either. But if it does, you watch for it to catch support of the shoulder. Fractional reserves implies that FTX had some money somewhere. Yeah. Is it a fractional reserve if the fraction is 0 over the denominator? It's still a fraction, I guess. Fraction of 0. Yeah, quite a few more people than normal. Usually we kind of hover around like 40 to 50, and now we're going between 50 to 70 at sometimes. So I guess this is a good time to remind you, if you want to keep watching these streams, for sure, go ahead and just, you don't have to subscribe if you don't want to, but like follow my channel and set up notifications so that when I go live, which is Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 2 o'clock, you'll get a notification, and then you'll be able to hop on the stream and catch it live. And if you have any questions, you can ask and all that other fun stuff. They used to sell Bitcoin of their customers or Bitcoin that they didn't exist. Oh, you're talking about FTX? That wasn't a fractional reserve bank. That was just an outright scam. That was literally just like a Bernie Madoff type deal, like a Ponzi scheme. No, not referring to counter trading their customers. I mean, I'm sure they probably did that too, but what they did was they borrowed their customers' funds and traded with their funds. Even though in their terms of service they said they weren't doing it. Yeah, technically the FTX customers weren't a customer of Alameda. Yeah, it's true. Oh, so let's go back to Ether. I got kind of sidetracked there. Well, I'll add more to this thing if we come up with more. But let's go back here. Let's close up space here. Yeah, okay. So with Ether, when we look at the cloud on the weekly, same deal, right? Like it had the opportunity to get up in the cloud. And what I worry about this is it's just going to kind of like do one of these numbers. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll close up here and it'll target the other side. But right now it's running into this 50 EMA. It's like within arm's reach of the cloud, and it's just kind of falling short at the moment. Also failing to break out of the broadening wedge. So Ether failing to close inside the cloud. Failing to break out of broadening wedge. Now maybe this will change. Like maybe we'll have a good week and Ether comes up and closes inside here, and then it does the breakout. But for now, I'll just leave that there. Like that's where we are with Ether. What I'd be more worried about with Ether is if it had its breakout and then it came back inside. So like did one of these and closed back down here, that would be bad. But right now it's just kind of just chilling, right? So maybe it ultimately breaks north. We don't know yet. We don't have enough information. You love those clouds? Well, so I love things that give me objective looks into the market just because I don't trust myself. And you shouldn't trust yourself either. Your subjective opinion will convince you of things. And so you need objective tools, right? Okay. Um, let's go ahead and take some requests. What coins do you guys want to look at? Throw them at me. We'll break them down. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about them uh, outright targeting liquidation points, but you can actually just kind of like you don't have to do that to know where liquidation points are. Like it's just math, right? So like, say for example, you're 50x long. All you need is a 2% move against you for a liquidation to happen. So if anyone that's a market maker sees like, oh, let's say for example, there's a high level of volume at this price level, well, they can probably estimate levels like this. Like this would liquidate the 50x, the 20x, the 10, the 5, things like that. So like you can just calculate those. You don't have to be as nefarious as having an exchange like look into your account. Like you can do it yourself. Shilla some UBS. It's funny you mentioned that. So on UBS, which for those who don't know, this is the exchange or the group that's trying to buy the Credit Suisse, um, and they also had this gigantic meltdown, this absolutely staggering meltdown following the housing crisis, and these are monthly candles, right? So they just had this absolutely shit show, and it started forming off of the prior bottom. It is a massive accumulation zone, massive, absolutely massive. And when I take it off log, you see just like how big it is, right? And this is like when I look at setups like this makes absolute sense where you would accumulate before the historic level, right? This was the historic open, and then it's accumulating down here and just testing people's pain points. And what I love about this setup is not only is it a picture perfect accumulation trading range, if we look at the quarterly chart, it is a glorious edge to edge setup, right? You can see here it tried to close inside the cloud, it got rejected. Last quarterly candle, it closed inside, which is great because that means it's like a second test. Boom. Um, and so if this thing closes green, or at least just doesn't close back outside the cloud, which it closes in 11 days, it is set up for a humongous run, which from current prices is 160% for a freaking bank, right? So huge. Now, granted, these are quarterly candles. So this is going to take a couple years to get here, probably. Like, probably wouldn't get here until like 2025. But if you're like, you've got a 401k and you're looking for, a nice edge, something you can throw a long term play into, this is a really great option right now. Um, do you ever use any volume profile indicators in Confluence to your dynamic resistance support? You mean like level based volume, like where it's like over here on the side? Um, I used to use stuff like that, but honestly, I don't anymore. I'm sure there's utility in doing it, but like that's just not for me. FRC is one impressive bank chart. Let's take a look. Oh, this is one that like turbo nuked, right? Yeah. This looks like an actual like shitcoin rug pull. This is wild. Down 88% this month. Dude, it's amazing. All right, so what do you guys want to see? You want to see BTC.D? So Bitcoin dominance, no surprise, had a crazy week last week. Kind of looks like a little bit of an accumulation, right? But I don't think you can really apply Wyckoff theory to a Bitcoin dominance chart because it's not like maybe you can. I need to think about this more. If I'll play this out in real time. So here's my thoughts. This is basically a meta visualization of Bitcoin dominance. And if you're accumulating Bitcoin dominance, that means you're stealing capital from other coins and pulling it into Bitcoin. So it's almost like an accumulation of other crypto capital. So I guess maybe it does play out. Okay. That makes sense. But either way, it's sitting in this, at historic lows, and it's in a big ass trading range. And I bet if we looked at the cloud on like the weekly, oh, this is the weekly. Maybe not. Yeah, the daily chart's crazy. Yeah, so you can see just like even though Bitcoin hasn't, it's like barely getting new highs today, you can see quite clearly like other alts are selling into Bitcoin. It's like doing the vampire effect. So someone asked to see the shitcoin called High. Take a look at this. I mean, there are definitely worse charts in the world, that's for sure. Like we see a level flip of sorts. Is there a discernible trend? I don't like this. The fact that it's below the cloud, like that's not good. 4-hour chart looks like it's in markup. So, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, but I definitely don't like the look of this cloud. This looks like shit. I think most likely what ends up happening is it probably consolidates a little longer. The cloud comes down and eventually rips an edge to edge through it. If we are moving to shitcoins, we take a look at STX. Sure. Oh, yeah, this is a good markup. What's the daily look like? Looks good. It's kind of running into an obvious sell point, right? So this is not a bad place. God damn it. This is not a bad place to take profit here. Especially after all this volume. That means someone's selling in here. Thanks, man. Wish you a nice evening. Yeah, you too. Thanks for stopping by. But trend wise, I mean, it looks good. Like, it looks good to me. Like this doesn't. Oh, look at this. Yeah, so weekly chart, very clean edge to edge. You saw the initial rejection. So these are sketchy to trade. I don't like edge to edge where the candle that closes inside is like more than halfway to the target like that. Like this sketches me out. Like I don't know if I would want to get long here. Just asking to get your feelings hurt. But the edge to edge setup is there, which it would target the other side of the cloud, which is 1.78. So another 60% move. But holy shit, if this thing got rejected, 50% move down. That wouldn't look good. We take a look at Walmart, WMT, sure. Okay, Walmart. Walmart's in an obvious trading range here. I would have been really pumped about this right here. That looks like an obvious spring, but the thing that's lacking is the volume. It's lacking the volume on the spring. And the jump across the creek, right? So it's like no volume here, no volume here. Maybe this just needs more time to consolidate. But it's definitely lacking volume on the ride up. This kind of makes me think it's going to like come back down to the bottom edge. This is a weekly chart. What's the monthly look like? Yeah, I might just need to consolidate longer. These Bollinger Bands aren't, I mean, they're a little squeezed, but they're not like super squeezed. And the lack of volume on this ride up following the shakeout, that is a little sketchy here. Like you see it's actually descending on the ride up, which I wonder if this is actually a distribution. Because look how big this red candle is. So big red candle on big red volume. We see descending volume on the ride up, which is hard to see if you're looking at something like a weekly chart. Like it's not immediately obvious that that's happening. And if this is a distribution where this is our sign of weakness. This is our LPSY, or last point of supply. This is our buying climax. Like this is our this is a little sketchy. For me, this would be like a wait and see, right? Like for example, if this saw down to here, like it saw here, and it closed down below the trading range, that'd be an obvious short play for me. Lots of time at the top of the range, yes, absolutely. Which is a sign of distribution. Someone watched my video. Good for you. Oh, Nook with another gifted sub. Thanks. I think that's 4 for 4 now. Looks like distribution. Yeah. Would you mind looking at coin? Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at it. So coin. Yeah, coin's in an obvious downtrend, running into obvious resistance here, making an obvious lower high. I would be hesitant about being excited about this. It's obvious. It's also running into obvious resistance here. You know, however you want to draw it. Something like that, probably. So, not the best looking chart. It looks like a bounce that will likely continue downward. What I would like to see is if it flips this thing, or you know, at least like closes above, see some red, and then something like that. You know. Will Monster event, or will Monster ever stop? Monster energy drink. This kind of looks like a Tesla chart. The early days of Tesla before it went parabolic. Holy shit. I didn't realize this. What? Monster energy drinks existed in 1986? Is this real? That can't be real. Am I looking at the right chart? I mean, there's the Monster logo. This has to be the right chart. Monster energy drinks existed in I'm gonna Google this right now. When did Monster energy drinks come? Asking me if I'm a human, fuck off. Oh my god, dude, Google is so ruthless these days. It makes me verify I'm a human every time I Google something. Yeah, what? It says Monster Energy drinks came out in 2002. Hanson. Okay, so this is from Google. Hanson's Natural, which is the name of the company, launched the Monster brand energy drink in 2002, and the company changed its name to Monster Beverage in 2012. So what the hell is this thing? What am I looking at? All right. Either way, this thing is like on a parabolic run. It's wild. um, this looks absolutely insane. This is like the Warren Buffett of energy drinks. There's nothing I can say about this other than it's bullish as shit. It just keeps going up. Like people love Monster energy drinks. It just keeps going. Low time frame. It's kind of making this little like. Is this stepping stone reaccumulation? Yo, this bullish. This chart is bullish as hell. This is wild. I would be really worried if this thing closed down in here again, though. Like other than these like minor tests, I don't want to see anything big with big volume or big spread close down in here because that would likely mean it's definitely coming back down to the lower end of the boundary. All right. What else do you guys want to look at? Oh, let's look at gold. Um, so gold had a really good close last week. It closed above macro resistance. So these are weekly candles. It closed above. Well, I guess it closed in, right? It didn't close above because here would be the close above. But either way, it gapped up and it's hanging out here. So just like with CME futures on Bitcoin, don't want to see this close a doji here because that would be again an abandoned baby type deal. But yeah, gold looks really good. It closed a new high for the first time since April of 2022. Just notice CVX broke out of a 15-year range. What the hell just happened? What is this? Where's my shitcoin chart? CVX Chevron broke out of a 15-year range. What? Oh no shit. Hmm. Yeah, so this would be like a PSY, buying climax, automatic rally, secondary test. Yeah, look at this too. Big volume, huge spread. Yeah, sure as shit did. That's wild. Yeah, it took out the low. That was a. Oh, yeah, it did. Damn, this would have been a great buy if you got in at the COVID shakeout. Holy shit. Because what percentage wise? What is this? 200%? What? Oh my god. Someone's making hand over fist with oil. Well, I guess this is Chevron, so it'd be petroleum, right? Either way. Holy crap, dude. This is crazy. What's the trend look like? Well, you might get an entry here because it closed an edge to edge on the weekly. An entry might be available, and it looks like it'll be a higher low. That'd be sick. Getting in right in here. What's the daily chart look like? Daily is a little bit of a jumbled mess, but yeah, and it broke that little trend. Um, but it's not like the worst thing in the world, right? It's not bad. It might be forming a reaccumulation trading range. Maybe. I have to watch it. Something like that, maybe. Might be worth the DCA some. Yeah, for sure. If it's like a long-term position, dude, Chevron looks good. And of course, if it closes a weekly, or more importantly, if it closes a monthly candle, if it closes a monthly candle back in here, you just say, get the hell out, I'm done. But yeah, this might not be a bad look. Were we looking at Intel before? Let's go ahead and look at Intel. What is it? I always forget it. INTC? Yeah. So Intel looks like it's still on schedule to close this monthly bullish engulfing, which would set up this BBW. Yeah, nothing terribly exciting has been happening. I wonder if there's an exchange where this did clear it. Okay, I'm not looking at that. All right. Yeah, I would feel more confident about buying this if it swept this low. It did something like this and came up on high volume. Maybe it will. Maybe it's still maturing. What? Maybe it will. I mean, here's the thing. You don't always have to sweep the low for an accumulation range, right? Like you can have a higher low. Those are just harder to trade because it's not immediately obvious what's happening. Why can't that be a distribution? Well, distribution happens at the top of ranges. This could be a redistribution, but like at the moment, it just doesn't show any signs of it. Signs would be like if we saw really large spread candles, like let me see if I can find something a little bit better. Something like this, or large spread, high volume. If we look at this, it's like most of the high volume is coming off of buys, right? I mean, there's a little bit of this, but it didn't even manage to make a new low. So there's no break of structure. There's no sign of weakness. My default assumption would be that it is an accumulation, just based on the way it's behaving. Plus the fact that it cleared this bit of liquidity here. So, yeah. Thoughts on Lulu? Let me see. Lululemon. Ooh, this looks like it's on shaky ground here. If this looks like it's begging to get popped. It's the sitch. Oh yeah. So like if this gets a close any lower, it's gonna set up another edge to edge. So common theme here, edge to edge, right? Learn cloud, edge to edge setups are everywhere. And if this closes a little bit lower, it's gonna target this low here at 222, which is a pretty steep. It doesn't look like it, but that's a pretty steep drop. 23%. Right, if I take it off log, it looks a little bit more obvious. Earnings soon, yeah. So there you go. You might get it. But this looks like a parabolic blow off. Like if we look at just the way it's structured, right? It looks like parabolic blow off. Failed to reclaim the parabola, and now it's marking down. This looks very similar to Bitcoin back in 2017, 2018. That's not what I'm looking for. You know, something like that. If we look at it like this, you can see here like this little guy and this little guy. Where's my brush? Boom, boom. Big difference though. Not a lot of volume on this guy. On Bitcoin, there's humongo volume. So I mean, there are some differences, but my immediate read on this is that it's probably going to see lower lows. I mean, lower lows relative to the trend. Like it's probably going to hit that edge to edge setup on the cloud, but you know, I could be wrong. Okay. Any other questions before we wrap this up? I know this is a little bit of a shorter stream, but I'm trying to keep my viewer count high and not just talk forever for no reason. Check the weekly Bollinger Bands on Lulu. Weekly Bollinger Bands on Lulu. Looks like it's about to shit. Yeah, it sure does. It looks like it's about to Velcro onto that lower band and keep going. Okay, any other requests? Going once, going twice? Did I fake out to the upside first? Yeah, I did. And then I immediately got shit on. Thanks for the stream. Maybe a little dive into the clouds next stream like you did with Bollinger Bands. Yeah, remind me on Wednesday, and I'll definitely go into depth with it for sure. If you're interested in finding this content and having it all consolidated in one spot, I've got my Discord. You can use this handy little bot in Twitch chat and do things like this, and it'll pop up the link. You can click it, join. I know I've been saying I'm probably going to open up my trading group again. I haven't decided when, but that's where I will announce that. You know, it will be a paid premium option, but the Discord link that I posted, it has a bunch of free stuff. So you can find my tweets, my videos, clips like the Bollinger Band clip where I talk about, you know, how to use Bollinger Bands, the trend, trades, stuff like that, different setups. And so I'll clip different snippets from the streams and I'll post them there. That way they're all in a nicely consolidated spot. Also, you know, it forwards my tweets and stuff. But when I open up the trading group, that's where I'll put the application and all the info about that. It'll be available in the Discord there. And yeah, it'll be available. But yeah, so we'll pick this back up on Wednesday. We'll keep it short and sweet today. You know, obviously we're not near the weekly close, so there's not a whole lot to watch for the time being. But yeah, this rising wedge looks like it's kind of playing out a bit, and you can see here, you know, it's getting this like this snake pattern where it's like going down, boom, before it ultimately shits. So pay attention to this. I do not think there's much more juice to the upside of this. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but I just don't see it. So just, you know, be careful about getting overexposed this late in the trend. And yeah, we'll pick it back up on Wednesday. Thanks, guys, and stay tuned for the next stream.